Hello and welcome to Aviary Paragraph, the podcaster for birds birders who love all things which are bird-oriented and also all things which may involve birds. Aviary Paragraph is brought to you by Pacific Thought Foods, seller of the best-selling Peter Piper Pickle and Borzoi Books, the new book publishing venture of Armand Drake Publishing, as well as Pico Bueno Park System, serving the greater Thurston County area. Hello and welcome to this first cast of our show, Aviary Paragraph. Glad to have all you sponsors aboard. On this cast, we will be filling you in on all the gossip that's fit to spill in a birder's world. I, of course, am your showrunner here at Aviary Paragraph, Zan Mars, and I'm going to tell you guys out there in podcast land, we have quite a few tricks up our sleeve as far as things go this podcast. Today we will be discussing sounds, events, and of course that lowliest of animal that we all know here as the bird. With me as always is my co-showrunner. Try saying that 3 times fast. His name is Martin Salinas, bird extraordinaire and wildlife enthusiast. Martin,
hey.
Let's start with what I call the birder's hello. This one comes to us from http://bushwhackingbirder.com/general/say-hello/. It's a reputable blog on birding which hosts blog entry titles as varied as beach bunting to the main purpose of this blog to help birders find uncommon birds in their area. And the post admin user Bob C mentions that quote unquote, probably my biggest problem with birding is that birders do not say hello. So from one birder to another I say hello to you.
Hello to you, Zan.
That was directed to the audience. So, in preparation for this show, I find that you had something which you wanted to say to me?
No.
No, it was revolving around the fish stories and the sort of tall tales that fishermen tell in relation to the much shorter and more precise, concise accounts which birders, really afford us to listen into. I know we get in a lot of calls lately about birding, birders, and birds, and I was just kind of thinking about that and how fish stories. People say that's a big fish, or there was that movie that came out, Big Fish, and there's a lot of sort of tall tales that are told.
Yeah, no, I remember we talked about that. Just kind of thinking. You got birders out there all across the globe, really, and they all kind of very interested in accuracy, whereas fishermen not so much.
Well, and I know that definitely when you're fishing, it's much more of a leisure sport, whereas with birding, it's more of a less of a sport.
Oh, definitely.
It's more of a game, sort of like you'd say about a game like chess or. Parcheesi, some sort of board game.
Yeah, no, I see where you're coming from. My angle on the whole thing is that I just feel like birders should be a little bit more like fishermen, and sometimes, it's all about a good story. Just exaggerate. Tell them you saw something you didn't see. Tell them you saw more of something that you did see.
Totally.
Just make it a little better.
Yeah. Well, we thought as a fun beginning of the podcasts, we would begin by focusing our research in on one bird. That's right, one special bird. That is a very lucky bird. It is known to a layman as the greater sage grouse. This bird's name in the Western world is often identified as Centroceras europhaeanus, or the greater sage grouse. Now, the reason I chose this bird on our first episode, it's kind of a flashy bird. It's a bit of an unusual bird, and I kind of want to bring that sort of parallel to the show that this type of bird is, kind of a flashy guy. We're going to be a flashy show. We're going to be a sort of a rare show which we birders spot, or desire to spot.
Yeah, you want to add that one to your life list.
Yeah, well, you were telling me before the show that you hadn't seen a greater sage grouse, but you had seen other grouses.
Yeah, I haven't seen a greater sage, but frequently seen grouse.
Now, what is your favorite grouse that you've seen?
Rough grouse. That's the only one I've seen.
So you've only seen one other specific type of grouse.
Well, I've seen sooty grouse as well, but that's another story.
Well, but you just said that's the only one that you saw. Was that the... Well, getting back to what I was saying before, this is the point of the show where I turn to my colleague here, Martin Salinas, for an esteemed opinion on this subject. So, could you tell our listening audience how many grouse plumes you have had the chance to spot while you were pussyfooting amongst the sage?
Haven't really pussyfooted among the sage, so I'm gonna go with a pretty big 0 on that one.
So this is a point in closing, if anybody has a chance to check out the Wikipedia page on the greater sage grouse, there are some pretty amazing resources there for grouse enthusiasts to look at. In particular, I'd like to mention the picture titled "A Male Strutting at a Lek," taken by Jeannie Stafford, on the Wikipedia page. We will, of course, have a link to that Wikipedia page on our website page, or you can, of course, get to that by Googling greater sage grouse. That's GREATERSAGEGROUSE.com, or greater sage grouse. And with that, I do want to show a little bit of, a little surprise for you, Martin. I know that you said you'd never seen a greater sage grouse. Here actually is a male greater sage grouse at a lek performing a bit of a strut display. Just take a look at that.
Oh my!
And for you viewers out there, the greater sage grouse here is what would you call that part of its body? It's kind of an unusual section of its body there that it's displaying.
Yeah, you can see the front side of the bird looks like a sliced watermelon almost.
Yeah.
Kind of puffing up its air sacs.
So is that the air sac of the bird?
That's the air sacs are being puffed up. It sounds like it's...
And how does that make you feel? When you see those?
Good. I would say it's certainly a marvel of nature, but at the same time, a little uncomfortable. Oh, we got the slow-mo shot coming here.
Kind of helps you define what's going on. I still don't know, exactly what it is, but...
Yeah, no, that is just...
Let me tell you, it's a lot of fun to watch, though. If any of our viewing audience out there did want to check that video out again, that's a YouTube video. But,
and you gotta check that out. That's one you gotta check out.
You should check it out. That's what I'd say. But one of the other things I would say is for the birders out there, we actually need to stop watching as many YouTube videos, I think.
Oh, I think I know
what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So oftentimes we'll catch ourselves on a computer, maybe spotting some pics other birders have posted, maybe some videos like the one I just showed you. We actually have to stop this sort of behavior in order to get ourselves outside and move amongst the birds and kind of spot them ourselves.
Yeah, so let's just make that a challenge. How about that for our listeners? This next week, you find yourself looking up a little photo album of birds, watching a little video. I'm going to challenge you. Go ahead and put that computer down, get up, go outside, bring your, of course, binoculars. I'm assuming you have those with you.
Yeah, or a spotting scope as well.
Or a spotting scope, and get out there. Find a bird, even if it's in your yard.
So you actually had said to me earlier that this particular type of grouse that we're talking about now, this greater sage grouse, that you had not actually seen that grouse.
Never seen that grouse in person.
But you did just actually watch that video.
Oh yeah, I just watched that video.
So
would love to see it in real life.
Well, but this is real. This is real life. I'd have to say. So I'm not sure. What do you think about that? I mean, did you see the greater sage grouse just now?
Yeah, that's a funny one. I saw that bird Am I gonna go putting that on any one of my number of Excel spreadsheet lists that I keep? Probably not.
You're keeping an Excel spreadsheet of your birding, what birds you see, or
Yeah, what I see when I saw it. Also the county, city, state that I've seen it in. I do a little listing.
Oh, that's pretty cool. So going into that, you were also saying that although you have not seen a greater sage grouse in quote unquote real life, you had been involved in the restoration of the greater sage grouse. Am I right about that?
No, you're not.
Oh, well, you were saying that you had some information about the latest news that the conservation of the greater sage grouse has been taken off.
Oh, I know that the
status.
Yeah, the greater sage grouse is a listed bird as an endangered species.
And you had said you'd been involved in that?
No.
Okay. I see. Now, what do you think about that greater sage grouse sort of involvement in the sort of endangerment list, that conservation list that we get?
Yeah, I think you got the greater sage grouse. It was a listed species, pretty clearly the result of same kind of threats a lot of birds face: habitat fragmentation, habitat loss. It's not so much individuals going out and taking these birds as much as it is just that sort of that habitat loss. Okay. Or the separation of that habitat. You don't have good connectivity, good mosaics of habitats, and through the years of hard work and restoration, my understanding is that bird has actually rebounded enough habitat has been provided that it is no longer listed as an endangered species.
Wow, that's so interesting. So for the next segment of this show, we will begin with what we call Spotter's Sound. This is a game for all you viewers out there and for you, Martin, in the studio.
All right.
That I am really excited about. I got to tell you, I am really excited about this game that we're about to play here. So I talked to you guys a little bit about this before we started the show. Can you explain us what this segment's all about?
Yeah, so Spotter's Sound, what we're going to be doing is playing a variety of sounds. Some of these sounds are going to be non-bird sounds. Some of these sounds are going to be bird sounds. And in Spotter's Sound, here in the studio, we'll be guessing what the sounds are. We'll be having callers guess what the sounds are.
Well, not this program, though, because this is our first program. So it's just going to be you guessing the sounds. There are 3 sounds. Are you ready for sound number 1?
I am ready.
Okay, and we're going to play that sound for you now.
I should know this one.
Yeah, this is kind of a tough one. This was submitted to us by J.C. Guan.
I'm thinking of a small bird here. Definitely a bird for our Spotter Sound here. This is definitely a bird.
This is one of this. The first sound is a bird sound on Spotter Sound. The second sound is a bird sound in another sound at the same time, and the third sound is just another sound.
Zan, you've got me stumped.
All right, well, we actually didn't write down what this sound was before the show, so we actually are going to just have to keep that one a mystery for you viewers out there. Now, here's a second sound we have for you, and Martin, you, of course, are the one playing Spotter's Sound, so you're going to have to guess this sound.
All right.
And here's that sound.
I'm going to go with a toilet flushing and a dove of some kind.
That was sent in to us by Grezgorz. It's a GRZEGORZADAMHANKIEWICZ. And yeah, you're correct on that one. That would be a dove and flushing toilet. Very interesting sound. I really enjoyed making that one up in the studio today.
Good job.
Thanks. So here comes that third sound we have for you. This sound does not contain a bird. And we'll play that for you again
Yeah,
one
I'm
more
gonna
time
need
in
one
case you
more time
didn't
on that one.
catch that. That one was submitted by S01, and it's titled EUH. That's 3.
I'm gonna say that's some kind of vocal warm-up exercise.
That's actually also wasn't wrote down, so we don't actually know that sound, what that sound is, as well. There was no sort of demarcating note for what that sound was, and so that one is also going to have to be left a mystery. Now we have that sample sound that our viewers are going to look at. So this was one that you are not supposed to guess and until next week. Here's that sample sound for next week. This is sound 4 on Spotter's Sound.
This is for you, viewers.
It's kind of an interesting sound.
Definitely got good timing.
Good timing on that sound. And, you know, this is our sort of our Thanksgiving edition show, so it's kind of an interesting sound to have around on this on this time of the year. It's got me, you know, it's got me guessing though.
Zan, could I just take one little guess on that?
Well, I'm afraid you can, but I'm also afraid that you'll have to next week. And that was Spotter Sound. So this next segment we have here is meant for everybody out there listening who wonders to themselves, where can I find more fun birding events for me to go to? And in some cases, where can I find these events to potentially attend them? This is Plumgawker's Happening. So, Martin, you've attended many of these different birding festivals and events in the past. Did you
love birding festivals?
Love the yeah, that's what you were telling me. And you know, honestly, I was a little bit surprised on that, a little taken aback, honestly.
Why is that?
Well, you know, we each kind of have our own emotional response to things that other people say. So, you know, you just gotta kind of take that in stride and let me sort of stay emotionally in my own place. So, our Plumgawker's Happening this week is actually came to us from FloridaToday.com. It's called the Space Coast Birding Festival, scheduled for January 20th to 25th. It's in its 19th year in 2016, and organizers are apparently expecting very big things. Apparently, Thompson says, "There is no other event like ours in the U.S. Most photography instructors work alone or in very small groups. The festival is the only place in the country where people who want to learn can pick from classes and field workshops offered by 19 professional photographers, all the same location at one time." He follows this up with the suggestion that people sign up soon. Now, I know that you had a chance before the show for at least 4 hours to kind of overview this article and see what it kind of was all about and everything like that. Now, do you have any sort of notes on kind of your decision on? You know, I know that Florida is a long way to go for this festival. I mean, given that we are recording this show is actually a Pacific Northwest show.
Yes, it is.
Do you kind of enjoy? You ever been to Florida before? I know.
Yeah, I've been fishing in Florida.
Fishing in Florida. You know, I don't. This show is on birds, so you know, I'm not gonna. This is kind of one of those going around in a circle type things.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
the snake that eats its tail. At the beginning of the show, you listeners out there will notice that we were talking about fishtails, and here now we're talking about this event in Florida, and it just so happens you last went down there to go fishing.
That's right. Went out into the Gulf of Mexico off of the Emerald Coast.
This is a birding show, so we can't go into that any further. Now, would you like to discuss with us a little bit more about this Space Coast Birding Festival?
Yeah, personally, I would never go to this festival.
That's not what I want to hear. I mean, we're trying to. They said, well, is that you'd never want to go to it unaccompanied?
No, I would never want to go to it at all.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
now
yeah.
why is that?
Yeah, they got this whole thing going on. kind of moving towards the photography, and they're talking in here about more and more birders are ditching their binoculars or
Right,
spotting
digital scopes.
and they're using cameras, taking pictures, going home and later identifying the birds.
Right.
So for me, as a wildlife enthusiast, call me old school, but I say you keep the binoculars around your neck. You carry the spotting scope, and you've got to practice that sharpness of IDing the birds in the field.
That's got to be controversial in the birding community.
It is.
To say something like that.
Yeah, people.
I mean, some people might even say that's disgusting.
It'll drive a wedge between birding groups.
Well, that's understandable, though. Honestly, I mean, because when you got to think about these birders out there, they've got to be birding 5, 6, 7 times a day, and when you go out there in the field, sometimes, hey, guess what? I don't know every bird out there. I'm not. Every time I see a grouse, is it the greater sage grouse? Is it the lesser sage grouse? Is it and when I see a grebe, is it a greater grebe? Is it a lesser grebe? What type of grebe? Is it pie-billed grebe? You have so many grebes out there, and sometimes I'm gonna mistake that, and I'm gonna call that, you can call that just me, but hey.
And this really comes back to it. I don't think that the point of birding is to go out there and feel like you're the greatest birder and you can say what every bird is the second you see it. Personally, I like to go out with no field guide. I take out a notebook and I take notes.
So, okay.
Helps me to go back and really hone my skills and observation.
Wow.
If I'm taking a picture, I'm not really getting that same experience.
Sure. Okay, so I think we're going to have to disagree or to agree on this one. The way I look at it is, some people use, Allen wrenches, others use hex wrenches. So just that sort of similar vibe to birding. I don't like to bring up analogies, and when I'm talking about birds, but this is a case where I'm going to have to, I think.
Yeah, there's nothing kills a conversation more than an analogy.
So what do you think, though, about the different activities that they're offering in terms of non-digital photography? Is there anything there?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at this and I'm seeing great field trip opportunities to some premier bird areas. You can get down to some wildlife viewing areas there.
Well, you guys heard it from the birder's mouth. The Space Coast Birding Festival is a great place to go if you are in the area from January 20th to the 25th. It is, again, entering its 19th year in 2016. So, lastly, we have a segment called the Bird Nuts Flip Through. We are here. We are also recommending a book for bird nuts who are watching us on TV right now. This week we recommend Aaaaw to Zzzd, The Words of Birds by John Bevis. This is published through the MIT Press. It's a book where Mr. Bevis or Mrs. Bevis, could be either or. I mean, those are really the... Anyhow, Mr. Bevis talks about bird sounds such as, they're as various as cuckoo to jug, pooey to... this is one I think that and kind of aspire to, Martin. It's too-wit-a-woo or hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo. William Gass, he's one of the reviewers of this book. It's apparently a very interesting book. It's a great read for bird nuts, and it's a great read for word nuts as well.
So we're talking all about the sounds in this book, reading about the sounds.
And when onomatopoeia comes up, I'm a big fan of onomatopoeia if it's used infrequently. So this book, I thought it was a great opportunity to kind of explore kind of the things that I'm not as interested in.
That's what this show's all about,
Right. You gotta kind of explore those things. Now, did you read this book?
No, I did not.
You didn't. We actually just read the reviews to this book, and we got to say they're amazing. Martin, that's very helpful for us, I think. Your sort of preliminary overview of what the book is about.
Yeah, I can tell you just first impressions here, many birders will certainly identify with this. Opening up a field guide, looking through the entries and seeing a series of pizus and tazas, descriptions of bird calls, and they're going, I don't know what this is. This book, I feel like it could demystify some of that bird onomatopoeia language.
Wow. Well, that's it for this episode of Aviary Paragraph. We end you on this note that this best podcast on birds on all of the internet, with very few exceptions, leaves you with our final event of the evening. That's going to be called the Final Cock's Crow. And this is just a time for Martin to tell his birding story, kind of an interesting story. I got to tell you, I've been looking up online. A lot of these bird bloggers who are out there constantly birding, I got to tell you, a lot of their stories aren't as interesting as I'd like to hear, but I know Martin. I've known him for a while, and I trust Martin. So with that, I hand the mic over to you.
Yeah, quick bird story. Had a good friend.
We'd prefer it if the bird story was longer in length.
Oh, so good friend was traveling down to New Mexico. Going down to New Mexico to do some birding. Was with a group of people traveling in a bus. So happens to be the leader of the field trip was sort of a leader who was notoriously known for being very inconsistent. In one moment, a very good, reliable person, and the next moment, oftentimes could be found driving buses through fences into fields.
Wow, now that's pretty rash for a leader.
It's very rash for a leader, but the man was a keen observer. And so sort of the rough around the edges personality.
Right. When you want a birder, you want an observer, pretty much. Mm-hmm. That's what I've heard.
That's what you want. So,
did you like that about him?
Loved that about him.
Okay. That's great.
Took out that group out into New Mexico doing a little sort of cross-country birding. So they're not using any trails. They're not using any roads at this point.
Now, where was this exactly?
New Mexico.
New Mexico. Okay.
Yeah, New Mexico.
Interesting. I never know that you'd been over there.
Yeah, so a group of people are birding kind of down in a little gully down there in New Mexico.
Right.
Looking for warblers. You can, especially at the right time of year, you can pick up some of those Central American warblers that typically aren't going to be seen really in the United States at all.
Wow.
Briefly pop up some of those neotropical birds into the southern United States.
Right.
But this trip, they found something other than a bird.
Right. Well, that's a really interesting story, Martin. When we here at the Aviary Paragraph are talking about birds, we're dead serious, which is why I wanted to bring up this next segment of the show where we kind of discuss things and of a more serious nature. This one is about birding gear. And Martin, I had heard that you had a recommendation about the binoculars for birders out there.
Oh, yeah. So a lot of times people go into a store, they're looking for binoculars, and they're going, a good pair of binoculars is going to be high zoom. That's kind of the first error that people make.
Yeah, I love a high zoom.
That high zoom is not your friend. What you need, you'll notice there are two numbers. On any pair of binoculars, you might have an 8 by 32. You might have a 6.5 by 24. And those two numbers correlate to give you a good sense of the quality of the binoculars. That first number is going to be your zoom. And that second number is going to be the diameter of the front lenses on the binoculars. That's going to tell you how much light comes into the binoculars. That amount of light is really what gives your brain the information to see the birds. So what you really want is a balance of zoom to light. That amount of light is very important. Now, you're going to get a heavier pair of binoculars if you go for a, say, X by 50 pair, but you're going to have a lot of information. Now, the second thing is those big high zooms, those 9, 10s, even some people out there making 11s, which, by the way, purely gimmick, marketing gimmick. Those high zooms, much harder to hold steady. You're going to get a lot more vibration as you hold them. Much harder to locate those small perching birds. And then also, you're going to have dimmer pictures. The more zoom you have, the less light can actually get through. So I'm
Really?
just gonna say anything above an 8, 8.5, I would steer clear. Leave it for the spotting scope.
Yeah, you can spy a bird, via scope, via binocs, field glasses, telescope, optical prism, viewfinder, magnifier, optical instrument, or, in the case of most laymen, you could use the eyes just visually searching around you looking for birds. It's interesting when you talk about that low zoom. It's kind of like that whole back to the farm movement.
Oh yeah.
Like we're kind of eating organic foods and things like that, and that's kind of
Yeah, like a granola thing.
right. And I noticed that earlier you'd said you were against digital equipment. I enjoy digital equipment, but maybe not to the extent where I'd go out and buy it. Personally, I bird with my eyes. So we leave you today with a little bit of a riddle here. Okay, this one comes to us from Zan Mars. How many species of penguins are out there right now? Do we know? Do we know here? And here's a little one for you viewers out there. What is Zan Mars' favorite species? That's gonna be a difficult one for you. Martin, you want to take a whack at that? I'll let you in on that one.
All right. Zanmar's favorite species. Are we talking bird? Just a bird?
No. This is
Just in general?
penguin.
Oh, a penguin.
Guess how many species of penguins there are.
I'm gonna go with 14.
No. All right. Our technical producer is Anna Glover. Our theme song is by who I believe is called Papadin or Papadin or something like that. This is going out there to all the sort of crazy, sort of bird lovers out there. Keep strutting your stuff, and the sage grouse is with you. We're all with you out here, and we love you guys. Take care, and check us out. Check out our next episode. We'd love to hear from you. I'm Zan Mars.
Martin Salinas.
Signing off over here. It's been great to hear you guys. It's been really good. So, take care.